Hey, everybody, and welcome to Bold Badass Business, where we bring you the business boosting secrets that are going to put you ahead of everybody else. And today, you all, I am so excited to have here in the studio Greg Dixon, who is a multimedia publisher. He is a jack of all trades in many ways. He's a Renaissance man. He's interested in story creation. He knows about video editing. He helps people publish their books and make them multimedia and appeal to a variety of learning types. Greg is just super interesting, you all, if you don't get the point. And I'm just thrilled that you're here with us, Greg, to talk about why your online presence sucks and what to do about it. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, I think the other way of looking at this is I don't know what I want to do when I grow up, but that's another story.
Well, I
Anyway,
know I don't want to grow up. I mean,
yeah, well,
I
that's
don't.
what my friends say. Well, you're not growing up anytime soon, so you don't even have to worry about it. So there
I
we
love
go.
that.
Yeah,
And
so
actually, in the Mayan calendar, you're not, if you're Mayan, and even if you're not, you can claim it, you're not an adult until you're 52.
oh yeah, well,
So you
there we
may
go.
just be not even an adult, or you might be a toddler. You never know.
Yes. Well, and Shakespeare said you go backwards, right?
Yes,
You
yes,
regress. So
yes. And we know
yeah.
Shakespeare was the king or queen of illusion because nobody even really knows who he, she, it was. So
Well,
yeah.
while we're on that distraction is almost any other writer, you can tell that there's something about the personality or somebody about the person in the writing. Shakespeare was a pure writer. You can't
Yeah.
derive anything about him as a person from what he wrote. So it's just,
He or she, because some people say that Shakespeare was a woman.
yeah,
We really don't know. And besides, there's so much gender fluidity in the plays anyway, you
yeah.
know.
Oh,
Good
yeah, for
Lord.
sure. I
Yeah.
think that actually the plays were quite progressive for the time.
Hmm.
And
Absolutely.
also, it's a good thing that people have trouble with the language because a lot of it's way raunchier than people think. When you decode that, holy smokes, that's a pretty rude image.
Yes. Doing the beast with two backs, y'all, that ain't about animals. I'm just saying.
Yeah,
It's true. And
yeah,
the groundlings, it makes me while we're having this little discussion of Shakespeare, the groundlings were a ribald crew, and they would throw shit at the people on stage. Those are the people, on the very ground floor of the theater, and
yeah,
the other more upper class had the upper levels, but they would throw shit at the players. So they had to be entertaining, and they had to be a little raucous, and they had to be on their toes, so to speak, so they wouldn't get booed off the stage or hit with
yeah.
big oranges and other stuff. So anyway,
It's
well,
like the
it
chicken
actually
wire in a
does relate,
Texas bar,
Greg.
right?
What'd you say? Sorry.
It's like the chicken wire in a Texas bar, like the Blues Brothers, where everybody throwing beer bottles at the people on stage,
Yeah, there you
even
go.
if they liked them.
Even if they love them, maybe especially if they did. Well, what we're talking about here really isn't that different from what we're going to talk about, because we're talking about a master storyteller.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing, Greg, because you are so into the creation of story, that one of the things you want to talk about today is that your online presence sucks when you don't have stories, when you don't include stories, when you
Well,
don't tell the story of who you are and who your business is. What do you
yeah.
think?
Well, it's actually simpler than that. I'm going to give a context. I have a couple of collaborators, and we do integrated marketing under the banner of total traffic and conversion. And
Mhm.
one of the things we do is an online review of your presence, right? People come and say, well, this is what I want to do. So, okay, we'll take a look at what you do. And the other thing, uh, and related to that is if we meet somebody in a networking group and somebody says, oh, okay, I'm the world's best dog groomer or something like that, and then when you go on their online things, is they were packing bottles into something like and doing something completely different, right? So it's a lack of coherence in the messaging or a lack of a message at all, right? And some people, so we'd meet somebody and then we'd go take a look at their website. Well, go look at their LinkedIn profile. We're LinkedIn biased, so we go to LinkedIn first.
Mm.
Okay, see what it says about it. And some people don't say anything about it, about themselves or what they do really, and may or may not have a link to a website. So if there's a website, we'll go take a look at the website.
Mhm.
And if the website looked like it was updated in 1992, and it's not at all about that. Not everyone is dreadful, but most can be better.
Mhm.
And I think everybody, as we're changing our focus, sometimes we don't keep up with ourselves. We don't update the website. We don't update
Oh, wow.
the
Greg, all right,
LinkedIn.
Greg. I'm just okay. Okay, right now I'm sitting here. I'm like, oh man, you're speaking truth because right now I have this report I did. I totally forgotten about it. And I
Yep.
was in this conference and I just mentioned it because I thought it would help somebody. Do you know I had all these emails from droves of people asking me to share it with them as well because I offered to share it with this person. And so now I need to go back to the report. I need to read it because it's from over a decade ago. I
Yeah.
need to update and I need to get it to my VA and get it out there again. So what you're saying is really important. Like we don't, if most entrepreneurs, we're on to the next project. We finish a project, then we're on to the next one, then we're on to the next one. And we forget to go back or we don't have the time or make the time to go back and make sure that everything's up to date, that the links work, that the information is still current.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if
Mm.
you have an offer, I've got one pretty okay. I'm gonna use a
Euphemism.
yeah, sort of change the names of the guilty. There's this person who has a store in a local area selling sofas,
Mm.
right? And so we met in various networking groups and go to his LinkedIn profile, and he barely has any mention of sofas on his
Mm.
LinkedIn profile.
Mm.
And there's a link to a website, and the website has almost no information about sofas, the brands that they support, or anything like that. And there's kind of an address for the showroom, but there's a little note that says, well, rather than drop by the showroom, you know, click on this link to make an appointment. And the link is broken, right? And so I talked to this person about 2 months ago about the website, and I said, I could probably make it better in about a day. But
Yeah.
anyway, he said, oh no, I'm not worried about it. And anyway, so to this day, the website is exactly the same. The link is still broken. And he said there, why don't nobody write? I think that if you wanted to not sell sofas, I don't think there's a better way of doing it.
Yeah, that's right. You can be, I'm not in the sofa business
Yeah, I'm
business.
not in the sofa
I'm
business.
really not in the sofa business.
Yeah.
I like what you're saying. And, these are details that create, I just said to my VA earlier today, these details may seem small. We were talking about the way that I always quote unquote sign things. There's a particular way I do it. I say onwards with power and purpose, Dr. Barnsley. And so we're putting that into the style sheet, et cetera. And I said, you may think this is a small thing, but it's a big thing because everything that goes out, every email newsletter I send, most of my emails that are one-on-one to people, group emails, all of that, other stuff I write, stuff that looks like a letter on the website, it all is usually signed with Dr. Barnsley. And I never use the word sincerely ever. I hate that word. I feel like that word is just for people who are completely insincere. So I don't use it.
Yeah, if somebody calls me how are you doing, my friend? My spidey senses go up for sure.
You're like, who the F are you?
That's the most unsincere thing that anybody has ever said to me.
I do have to admit, though, I do love my women friends in business because they'll often say things like, "Hey, beautiful," and I like that. But probably just Greg because nobody ever called me that when I was growing up. So it's like I'm making up for lost time. So hey, I hear what you're saying here about make sure that you're have everything up to date. Have your links work,
Yeah.
your calendar links, the links to articles you've written. Check this stuff, and basically don't do it yourself. Have a VA who can do it, but make
Well,
sure everything is up to date, because otherwise you get the 404, the dreaded 404 message, which is basically translation. I don't give enough of a shit about my work to make sure this is correct.
yeah. So here's one thing we suggest doing. And I heard the first time I heard this was in a business meeting, somebody talking about a brick and mortar place. But you
Mm-hmm.
can also do it with your online presence, is pretend you're your own client and you're coming and says, okay, I'm going to, this sofa site. It says, okay, you walk in and says, well, what information do I want? And is that information on that page that I need? Right. And if it's not, make a note of it. It says, okay, there's a link to something. What does that look like? And oh, okay, that looks kind of reasonable. What happens when I push the button to make an appointment, right? Is that what is expecting? And so, even something simple, we've had people who should know better. They've got a button to go sign up for a webinar, and then it says, they've reused some calendar link from something completely different, so the text on the screen doesn't match what they're offering.
Yeah.
And all those things, and then come through what the way I describe it is, what's your customer's experience? What do they they come in, how do they come in? It could be through Facebook, it could be through a networking meeting, it could be a link you sent off. Like, what is their experience? Are you giving a coherent message, and are you enabling them to follow your process? And sometimes you're not, like your link's broken, or it says something completely confusing, and it's not always. I think one of the Dan Kennedy rules is there is always going to be an offer, and many people miss that. Right? They're throwing a bunch of spaghetti on the wall, putting a bunch of stuff up there, but there isn't a link to follow up, or you haven't really thought through how it's going to work. And so,
And
and
we should have a call to action. We should have an offer in for example, every email newsletter we send out.
yeah,
We should have a call to action in every social media post, even if the call to action is just comment below what you think about this.
yeah,
We
yeah,
want to engage people, and it should just be one. I see people make this mistake as well. They'll have a million different things down at the bottom, like connect with me here, 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 and here. Nobody's going to do all that. Just list, tell them the thing you most want them to do. And for me, I
yeah,
most want them to come into my database. So I most want them
yeah,
to enjoy my free ebook, How to Overcome Overwhelm in 7 Easy Steps. Everybody, y'all can get it at spirited-solutions.com.
there we go.
Spirited-solutions.com. I'll just say that because some of you are
Prepaid
probably like,
commercial
where did
in
I
there.
get that thing? Just go there and stick in your email and you can get it. But that's what I want to bring people into our freebie vault that I'm going to tell you all about at the end of our session, our episode
Yeah,
today. I want them in there because then when I have something exciting going on, I can reach out to them again. But people don't think about, as you say, the customer experience. And I would add to that the customer experience and journey. It needs to be very strategic,
yeah,
the journey that you take people along, and your follow-up, as I call it, your FU system,
yeah,
your follow-up system needs to be very direct and clear. So when you meet somebody at networking, when you get back, you're not going to file away their stupid business card. Hopefully you don't even take their business card unless you take it digitally. You're going to go and connect with them on Facebook or on LinkedIn or somewhere
yeah.
else where you are. Yeah, Greg. So what are these huge reasons, aside from this, that what you've got posted is old, it's antiquated, it's not even about what you say you do now? What are some of the other big mistakes that people are making that are causing their online presence to really crash and burn, crash and burn?
Well, I've got another example here,
Oh
and
boy, I'm having a feeling that this one's, is this that one that you said brought out all the 4-letter words you could think of?
the other thing that brought out all the expletives is that person, the sofa guy. also has a marketing company, and his marketing website was even worse. So that I was just Lord Tundra Jesus, as they might say in Newfoundland, or expletives deleted. I was just like, I couldn't really believe it. Anyway, but then I'm going to tell you a different story here related
Okay.
to always making an offer. We did an online presence review of somebody, and it looked really good. Like
Hmm.
this guy was getting invited to on podcasts. He was a guest.
Hmm.
His LinkedIn profile looked good, and his website looked good, and all this stuff. And he just mentioned in passing, he says, I get invited to be a speaker all the time, but how I make my money is I offer this $400 consulting package. And we just looked, what? And we looked everywhere on his website, his LinkedIn, his Facebook, broadcast. He never ever mentioned this that he had an offer, right? So everybody wanted him to be a guest to share the wisdom, but he wasn't making any kind of offer. That's the Dan Kennedy thing, so and it just an oversight. I don't know. I guess he thought it'd be so obvious, or that people would phone him, and then in the conversation that they would turn out that there was been an offer. Whereas in some ways, I'm a follower of Dave D, and his thing is he doesn't want anybody to phone him unless they're ready to do business. Like he doesn't want to fill up his calendar with tire kickers. So so at some point you have to tell them what you're offering and what it's going to cost. And if you're interested, talk to me. If you're not, well, go somewhere else. But
you know what, Greg? One of the best things that I did recently is I've always had 3 questions that I give people before I will ever meet with them, if they are thinking about being my client or working with me for Reiki training, et cetera, or coaching. And what I did recently is I actually put this into a Google Doc, which is now on a Google form that's now on my website, very conspicuously put there, so that anyone who wants to get a Get Results Now complimentary session that is valued at $497, well, their first step is they must fill this out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
And it's got some really pointed questions on it, but I want to weed out the tire kickers. So I would say to everyone listening, one thing you can really take from what Greg is saying and what I'm saying, and what happened with this person you were talking about who had this offer that no one knew about, is you want to make sure that above the fold, when somebody comes to your website, that they're going to be able to see that offer in the first screen. And look at it on your mobile, and look at it, because on the mobile, it's even harder to do that. Look at it on the mobile, look at it on your desktop, look at it on your tablet, but make sure that the offer is conspicuously displayed. And at this point, most of us who are in small business, our best strategy is always going to be a one-on-one enrollment conversation. It's not going to be us selling to many. We're going to really make the sale, the enrollment, when we're in a one-on-one conversation with somebody who has already put their hand up, filled out the questionnaire, filled out the Google form, and we've seen that they are indeed motivated. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, no, that's for sure. Though sometimes it backfires. I years ago, I followed a guy named Andy Jenkins, who is a video boss. I don't know if you know him. And then he was co-founder of Kartra. And anyway, after watching about 4 or 5 hours of information about the video boss, there's a sign up form, right? And one of the things says, if you can't afford it, if you're not actually going to do the work and blah, 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 don't sign up, because all those applied to me and I signed up anyway. So, it's sort of like this negative thing. It says, don't do it. You can't have it. Well, no, I'm going to take it.
That's reverse psychology right there. And that also can be a powerful strategy. You just say to somebody, I've actually said to people, I've said, I'm going to say to you, I'm going to be honest with you if you want me to. Do you want me to be honest? I really don't think you're going to enroll. And I would be super surprised if you did. And then they want to prove you wrong, which makes me laugh. But, reverse psychology might be useful at some point. But, it's important that we weed out those of us who are in small business. We're really the face and brand of our business.
Yes.
And it's important that we weed out the tire kickers. They may be tire kickers in terms of networking. You and I both know, Greg, some people who are like networkers by trade. That's what they do. That's their business, is networking. You know, they really don't have a profitable business. They're just always at
No.
the networking events.
And actually, I think that's another thing, because there are a lot of people in networking things, and sometimes they've been sold a bill of goods by the people who are charging them to be in the networking group. Sometimes
Mm-hmm.
that's more important. But really, what I'm saying is, they need all the other things to support it. They need their social media presence. They need a good website to support what they're doing. The other thing is, I've hosted networking groups, and you have certain people on there who are going, spending 10 hours a week going to networking groups, who never sell anything, never will sell anything, and I've had meetings with them and sort of said, you're going to either have to change your messaging, or the other thing is, the fish you want are not in this pond. You have to go somewhere else to find
Yeah,
them.
right. If you are working with small business owners, why are you going to the CEO association meetings? Absolutely know who your target is and find out where they hang out online and in-person networking and online networking. It seems like such a no-brainer, but I can't tell you the number of times, Greg, I have had to reel people in my work with them to get them in the right places, because you're not going to have results until you're where that person who needs what you have is showing up.
Yeah, showing up. Yeah, and the one person I have in mind is, not only is the service she offers, nobody's going to be in a room with it,
Yeah.
and almost impossible that there's going to be somebody in the room who would refer her to somebody who needs. So it's really, it's the waste of time and money. So
Yeah.
yeah, and yeah, for sure. So it's a hard thing, and I think it's not a right now. With AI and all these marketing stuff, where people are selling all these shortcuts, cheap
Mm-hmm.
tricks. Oh, for only $500 a month, we can get you all these leads. Well, some of those leads are going to get you banned from your platform, so
Yeah.
get you thrown off LinkedIn or Facebook, or
Right.
really
Yes.
annoy a lot of people. Like I get in a bunch of people sending text messages, or through Messenger, or um, LinkedIn,
LinkedIn.
and you know, well, some of them are just those Asian women pretending they live in America, trying to sell you crypto scams.
Yeah.
But even people I know, it's kind of annoying, because I know who they are, and they've sent something that's obviously a canned message,
Yep.
and it's just, it's more annoying than anything, right? So
It's annoying, but also for me, it breaks trust.
yeah,
Because when somebody sends me a canned message, I know it's canned. I know it's AI created. I know or I can feel that it's the same message they've sent out to a ton of people, because there's absolutely no personalization. Like, how is that new teenager you brought in? How are they doing? Or how are your animals?
yeah,
Nothing like that. And I just want to say something to those of you who are listening. I really want you to hear this. I will ask, when I'm teaching double your contacts, double your network, networking secrets of the pros, I will ask, how many people came of your last 5 clients? How many did you meet through a person who you knew, or you met them in person or on Zoom yourself? And most of the time, people have up at least 4 fingers. Most of the time, they have up 5 fingers. The point being that when you're meeting people, and you have common values and you have common goals, then you are going to naturally be able to have those enrollment conversations if you ask for them, right? Or you offer them. And so your people are going to come most of the time in our businesses, they're going to come through people we know. Unless you have a
yes,
huge high volume business and a 100,000 people email list. And in that case, maybe you don't know them, you've never met them. But for most of us, it's going to be that way. So I think, Greg, what you're saying, is very powerful. If we only have a certain number of hours a week, which we all do have a certain
Yeah.
number, we can't create more time. We need to make sure that we're showing up and FUing, we're following up, um, you know,
Yes.
to make the most out of
Yeah.
that time. Otherwise, we're just going to the networking event, and then we come out of the networking event and haven't created a thing out of it.
Yeah, for sure. And it can be like many of my business has come with collaboration more than anything.
Mhm.
It's sort of collaboration within networking groups,
Yep.
and like our total traffic and conversion thing, we do interviews with people we want to collaborate with specialists. Yeah, for example, we wanted to target dentists one time, and one we just ran into, and he all he does is the voice messaging system
Mhm.
messages for dentists, right? It could be
Wow.
any company in the world with with a voice system, but he's been 30 years, all he does is for dentists, like when people are waiting on hold, this is, yeah, well, we welcome Dr. Smith into our office. He's waiting, or we have a special on.
So they're not singing the dentist song out of the Rocky, what is it? The Little Shop of Horrors?
Yeah,
Be the
yeah,
dentist with Steve.
yeah, but and they're not playing the Marathon Man in the waiting room either.
No.
No.
And they don't have like a loud drill and somebody screaming in the background,
Yeah,
it's all very calming. I
yeah,
love
call
that.
me.
Can you imagine?
Well, actually, one of my clients he is a dentist for this is the node investing space, but and I asked him, says, what are the quick lessons about the 5 things to market a dental practice, right? And he had the term was coward dentistry, right? For the people who want to be, they get knocked out, they don't want to feel any pain, right? They don't want to see that half of your face is stretched over their eyes when they're doing the surgery. But
That's hilarious. I've never heard that coward dentistry.
cowardly, yeah, it's not a marketing term, but that's what he said.
Well, they call it sedation dentistry, I think it's what they call it, but,
sedation, yeah, sedation,
officially, but I like that coward,
yeah,
scared
but he was,
scared shitless dentistry. There you go. Scared shitless dentistry. Like, "Ah!" I love that. That's hilarious. But, that goes to show you all, you gotta understand that's such a good target that he's got, because there is a huge part of the population who does not wanna be awake during any kind of dental procedure. Even dental cleanings for some people are like having 10 hands going down a chalkboard. Some people just hate that stuff, and so he's got a really good
yeah.
clear target
And
market.
along those lines, different hygienists are not all the same, and they have better technology, so it doesn't have to be painful. But
Right.
yeah,
Right.
but it's some you know it's like you're being worked over by Elsie of the SS sometimes. But
Well, you maybe want to change dentists when you go in there and you find little like claw marks on the sides of the armrests and the chair. That's probably not a good sign.
that's not a good sign.
Not a good
My
sign.
I had
I'm a
a
person person.
yeah, I had a friend from elementary school, and he described, he had really bad teeth, but he described basically being strapped into the chamber, and the dentist is straddling him with a jackhammer.
Oh, not something you want to market, not a picture
No,
you want to have
yeah.
on
So there
social
we go.
media.
We've digressed into dental horror stories. Little
But
House of Horrors.
actually, it's related. It's related to what we're talking about, you all, because you've got to think about these incongruencies. So maybe,
Yeah,
obviously, if you're a dentist, you may put something like that up to be funny, right? And
yeah,
sort of have it look like Frankenstein's being worked on in the dentist chair, but you're doing it to be funny and to point out how different you are. But you want to make sure that you are presenting an image that you want to present.
yeah.
You're putting out an image of who you really are, what your stand is in the world, right? And that you're consistent with that. And I always say nobody wants to see your breakfast. Who cares? I don't care what your breakfast. I don't want to see a plate of your food unless it's something so delectable that and so unusual that I would never think about it. maybe rattlesnake à l'orange.
Yeah.
But just have things somehow find a way to relate them to your business. And this is something that we were talking about in the interview on Bold Badass Business. We were talking about with Jules Vitality recently, making sure that whatever you're doing, if you're out and about at a street festival, that she gave an example of a guy who would just take himself, he'd just do a Facebook Live right
Yeah.
there, no editing, and be like, wow, I really should have worn my branded t-shirt because look at all these people behind
Oh
me.
yeah.
I could have them asking me about my business right now. But you
Oh,
see
for
how
sure.
he's related it back to his business. And
Yes.
that's what we want to do. But we don't want to do it in such a way that somebody feels like you've just crammed it down their throat, right,
Yeah, for
Greg?
sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Throat
You know,
cramming marketing doesn't work.
no, it doesn't. And actually, one of my clients, I'm going to have a little discussion is
Ooh.
doesn't have anything about what she actually does business wise on all her social media, but she'll complain about her computer being broken or something else. And I think she
Mm.
needs to stop that. Everything. It's one thing about your personal Facebook page. You can put stuff on there, but even that can come back to haunt you. But any of your business related things, it needs to be represent what you're doing in a business sense. And anyway, about your thing about the thing is maybe a homework assignment is to go watch Emily in Paris on Netflix.
I love
Be-
that. That's a
be-
great
yeah,
series.
it's great. It's great fun, and she's a Zen master of the taking advantage of her phone in a situation. Yeah, and you're talking about stories. Dave D, I've subscribed to his email list for a long time, and most of them have some kind of personal story. It's about him, some adventures with cooking or wine or something like that. But
Yeah.
there's always a business message. It's not just he's telling a story, but there's a business lesson about it, and then always a call to action to either join his mastermind or do something, or maybe he's got a webinar coming up for it. And he always, if there's a webinar, he's upfront about it. Says, yeah. So if you're expecting me to try to sell you something at the end of it, you won't be disappointed. So he doesn't want anybody come. Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't apologize.
Yeah,
He's
it
like,
says, yeah, it says, this is what that's why I'm going to give you a bunch of information enough for you to go and implement yourself. But if you want more help, I'm going to make you an offer. So just so you know, you're not surprised by it, because it's kind of funny. I've seen people in groups, and even who fancy themselves as networkers, complain when somebody makes an offer, right? Like it's just you need to be in a different business if you're going to get offended by
exactly. Because
that.
here's the thing, you all, you may think you're in the business of being a lawyer, or you're in the business of being a plumber, or you're in the business of being a social media reputation manager, whatever. You're not. You're in the business of marketing, being a
Yeah.
plumber. You're in the business of marketing, being a social media brand reputation manager. You're in the business of marketing what you think you are. You're not in the business you think you're in. I'm not a coach and a Reiki trainer. I'm in the business of marketing by coaching and Reiki. And if we don't market, then we find that we don't have a sustainable business.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you a little bit, Greg. I know
Okay.
oh, wow, we could talk forever. We're going to wrap soon, but I want us to be sure to get to the multimedia part of what you do, because one of the things I'll tell everybody listening is that you've heard me talk about having finished my first children's book. Well, I was talking about this with Greg, and I was telling Greg, I really want to have like a recipe for arepas, because the title is Johnny Jersey and the Magical Arepas. So I want to have that. I want to have a video of me talking to the young people so they could come and watch that. I want to do like games, maybe some cutouts they could download. And Greg really loves to think up creative multimedia ideas with the people whose books he publishes. So Greg, why don't you give us some examples, just a few examples of some people you've worked with and some really interesting ways that you made their publications multimedia?
Yeah. Well, I became an accidental book publisher.
Not the accidental tourist, but the accidental book
Yeah.
publisher.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
Anyway, I've been working with a fellow who Rocket Norton, who passed away this week after
Mm.
his long fight with cancer, but for about 30 years. And I've done all sorts of things. And so he phoned me up and asked me stuff. He says, well, I got this book. I finished the book. We want to start selling it. So the first thing I did was I created a PDF and I put it on a it wasn't even a DVD, it was a data CD. And the
Hmm.
band was playing at Hippie Days in Vancouver, and I had this available for sale for $10. and
Hmm.
uh, and so anyway, one of the guys who we had no money at this point. One of the guys who bought this thing for $10 was a
Hmm.
former band manager for the Seeds of Time, and he put up the money to have the books printed.
Hmm.
So so we went and got a printer in Calgary, and we've gone through about 5 or 6 orders of the print books, and then anyway, since then I've created a thing called the Rocket Norton Vault, and he's got 4 books, um, a planetarium show, tons of a bunch of bands, lots of footage, lots of stuff related to various bands, and I put it in a thing called the Rocket Norton Vault, and it's all there. And that recently, we've got all 4 books available for print on Amazon, and now there's a thing is you can buy the Vault or you can buy the Vault plus the book, and then
Nice.
and what I will do is order the books as author copies and get them sent. One of the problems that authors have, and Betty Withrow talked me into getting involved in book publishing in a more serious way because she's a ghostwriter and a
Hmm.
copy and a writing coach and helps authors. But there are a bunch of things that I can do that she doesn't like doing, or
Hmm.
she doesn't want to learn how to do. So I help with the formatting and stuff, and then we both do marketing. And generally, with the books, we will put them up on Amazon and Ingram Spark. But so many people have come to us and they've gone and they've spent maybe tens of thousands of dollars with some kind of book consultant, and they published their book and they don't have any idea if any of them ever sold. So,
Exactly. This is the thing. Or you look up on Amazon and you see that there's hardly any sales at all, right?
yeah, or
Um, yes, and this
yeah,
is deplorable. This is like you're waxing and detailing a gorgeous Lamborghini, and then you take away the keys and just leave it in somebody's backyard to
and
rot.
sometimes there's sales, but you're not getting any of the money. And
Yeah, like
so
it was somebody's mother-in-law who bought 5 copies for her
yeah, but I mean, it could be,
girlfriend.
but let's say there's an example. If you did publish a book through one of these outfits, and it was a big, huge seller, and there's a lot of money, but you're not getting any of the money. So what we do is, Betty and I, the one thing we do is we encourage people to if they're going to do Amazon and Ingram Sparks, is we'll help them through with their accounts. So any
Mhm.
money that there is goes to them, and
Yeah.
and and also, the other thing that I was going to do a broadcast on soon is, if possible, take the money first. So that's what most of the sales that I've done is I've sold the book privately, and then either I've mailed them the book,
Mhm.
or I've gone on to Amazon and I'll order author copies to send
Mhm.
it, because um, whether you get money out of Amazon or not is kind of spotty, right?
Yeah,
Once in a while it says,
exactly.
yeah, it sort of says, oh, geez, it just put $9 in my account. What was that for? Or the other, it sort of indicated that there were quite a few book sales, and it put 15 cents in the account,
I
right?
know. Like, I get some tiny royalties from a book I co-authored,
Yeah.
some years ago, and, yeah, I get some little royalties thing. Hey, I wanna show you something really quickly.
Yeah.
Um, I'm featured in this book that Kelly Farladoe put together, Grit,
Okay.
Guts, and Courage, and just what you're saying, Greg, here's what I did. Hey, you all, I'm doing my Vanna White, except it's Barnsley Brown.
Yeah. The
Grit,
Vanna
Guts,
White.
Grit, Guts, and Courage. I love that title, Mia, because I definitely have grit. And being from the South, I love grits. Just give me grits with shrimp, give me grits with cheese, give me some grits.
Well,
And
you'll like my wife Bonnie.
oh, we can eat grits together. And
Yeah,
we can say, kiss my grits.
yeah. I after being dragged through a number of Southern meals, I confessed that I wasn't really a fan of biscuits and gravy. And she says, "That's blasphemy."
She converted you, didn't
No,
she?
no, she never. No, no. I don't even mind grits, but it's not my favorite aspect of
All
Southern.
right. Well, we're gonna have to train you. But anyway, what I was gonna say, you all, is I did the very thing you're talking about, Greg. Everybody listen. When you have Amazon Day, and I didn't even know how to get author copies, right? Because I guess they come through her. I don't know. But I didn't get, I had sent her messages, I want to buy some, didn't, we kept misconnecting or not connecting. And so I just had an Amazon Day and I just went on and bought them for, I think it was like 6.50 each, something like that. And then I turned around, I took them with me just to some in-person networking events, had them sitting on the table and mentioned and held them up. By the way, I'm featured in this book, would love to autograph it for anyone who would like it. And immediately sold, $80 worth.
Yeah,
Right. So it's simple. And I was already going to that event anyway. You just take a few of your books with
yeah,
you. You can even sign ahead, like you can sign and never call it sign to your person, call it autograph, by the way.
yeah, yes,
And so I had a thing written there, and then I could put their name or somebody else's name if they wanted it. And just having a few there and keeping a few in my car, you'd be amazed at the amount of sales you can have just like that.
yeah,
And
for sure.
people were thrilled, and it was exciting for me. It was so easy. And think about it, I tripled my investment basically,
Yeah,
just selling them for 20. But the other thing I would say to everybody, and one of the reasons I think what you do, Greg, is interesting, especially what you're talking about with the vault, everybody listen up, is you should never sell a book by itself. Don't ever sell a book by itself. So one thing I'll do is put something else with this.
yeah,
So don't just sell a book by itself. I have my book package, which is 2 books and an audio CD and a cool door hanger. This is my
sure.
Get Out
Yeah,
of Debt, Get On With Your Life book package.
yeah,
So you want to put things together. And
yeah,
they can be done just from a website. So all you have to do is you have the physical book, whoops, holding it upside down. And then at the end, you tell them where to access the stuff that you have on hidden pages of your website or in your shopping cart.
and that's another Dan Kennedy thing. All of his books are really big. There's links and QR codes everywhere in there.
They are. They're marketing. And I love how he unabashedly does that. And what's
Yeah,
cool is when you're reading and you're intrigued by something, you're like, oh yeah, let me get that. And you just go ahead and you scan the QR code or you go to the website. It's smart.
yeah, it's
This the book is not the book is only a stepping stone
yeah,
to something bigger. If you think, those of you listening, if you think you're going to have a sustainable business off a $20 book, think again, right? Now, maybe if you sell it to corporations, you sell them at 1,000 at a time and include speaking, maybe you could fashion a
yeah,
sustainable business that way. That's possible. But for the most part, you've got to have your book be, and the stories that you have in your book or the stories you have in other information products, those should be a stepping stone to another offer
for
that you
sure.
have.
Yeah, yeah. For
Yeah.
most entrepreneurs, it's a lead magnet of some sort. Yeah.
Yeah. But even more than a lead magnet, because a lead magnet is a kind of a flimsy term, actually, now that
Oh, okay.
I
It's
think I should
credibility
do something
builder.
about F. Fuck lead magnets. I think I'll do something on that for the Bold Badass Business
Yeah,
Show. Lead magnet is kind of a term like goals. It's very wishy-washy. Okay, lead
yeah,
magnet. But if you say it's a stepping stone or it's a bridge to your high paying or another higher paid offer, that's a very different strategy.
yeah.
And here's the thing, you all reverse engineer it. What do you want them to enroll in? And then think about what's the book, i.e., lead magnet, you would have them get that will take them to that offer.
Yeah. Yeah, so we have one client now, and we have a book, and it's not quite launched yet, but we're going to probably be 4 in total. But he doesn't care if he ever sells a single book.
Yeah.
He wants to get on podcasts, and he wants to get people to know about his business, which deals with, maybe $1 million worth of services.
Yeah.
So that the actual book count is not that important. And the other thing I was going to say is, well, the other thing I do is course creation. So if you come with a book, I'm almost always going to say, have you considered creating a companion course or program to
Ooh,
go with it? I'm almost always going
nice.
to do that. And if you come with a course, it says, have you thought about doing a book? So you know, as you were saying, you know, it's not, it's part of a package of things, not just the one thing.
And it could be a workbook, you know, it
Yeah.
doesn't have to be, I mean, these days people don't want to read long books. They really don't. They want checklists, they want short cheat sheets, they want quick start guides. So if you can take a longer course and turn it into a very quick 2 or 3 page checklist,
Yeah.
man, people are going to love that. They're going to, I use that term, lead magnet. They're going to download that because
Yeah.
it's something that they can do quickly versus reading a book that's maybe
Yeah, for
100 or
sure.
150 pages. But I'm still a reader. I love to read, Greg. I still love to read, but I recognized having done just by mistake, actually, totally by mistake, I did audios before I ever did my books. And I've sold way more of the audios than I ever sold
Yeah.
of my books
I was
because
just going to
people
bring
like to
that.
listen to those in the
I
car,
was,
etc.
I was going to bring that up. Even though I do a lot of video, I myself tend to close my eyes, right? So
Mm-hmm,
I listen to things,
mm-hmm.
and you know, and an audio version of a book is worthwhile doing.
It
Yeah,
is. Some
yeah,
people are just going to listen to that. They're going to lay down and take a nap and while they're listening, or they're going to be out walking listening. Absolutely, you know, never let your content be in just one form. I think that's another thing we can definitely take from you, Greg, today is that multimedia really should be multi. It
yeah,
shouldn't just
for
be
sure.
a book and a music track, or,
Yeah,
you know, a book and a coloring book. It should be way more than that. And the more
yeah,
things you can put in there, the better.
yeah.
The
I like to
better.
cater to everybody's preferences. Like let's say, take example, you've got a short course or something. You can have a video describing it, and then some people won't watch the video; they want to read it. So you can have that, and then you can have an audio version, and then everybody's happy.
Yeah,
And it
exactly.
doesn't, and it doesn't take that much. Like if you're going to do the video, you already have the audio.
Right.
Yeah,
Exactly. Or you can go on Fiverr with 2 R's, fiverr.com, and you
yeah,
could get somebody who will do the audio version for you,
yeah,
you know, or go on Upwork. Absolutely. So you all, I hope you're really listening to a number of the points here. You know, your online presence needs to be consistent. It needs to be up to date. It needs to be supported by courses, by multimedia, by audio, by, you know, workbooks, by books, more
yeah,
traditional books, by vaults in your website. There's so many things that you can do these days that we couldn't do before we had all the computer technology we have and all the AI technology
yeah.
that we are now using. I mean, it's been around, but just people weren't using it that much. Oh my God, I remember when we had card catalogs when I was in doing my PhD. Can you imagine card catalogs? That's some crazy shit right there. So you all, Greg has something for you. Are you excited? You better put yes in the chat or I'm going to slap you right now. Anyway, the vault, the vault. Yes, we have a vault for Bold Badass Business, and I'm super excited about it. And it is filled with thousands and thousands of dollars of gifts for you, our listener. How do you access it? You just go to bit.ly/free from Dr. B. And doctor is spelled DR. Let me repeat it, bit.ly/free from Dr. B. And you want to spell doctor as DR. Then you will be able to unlock all these incredible gifts. And we will very shortly be including Greg's gifts. So, Greg, tell us what you're giving everybody.
I'll give a free online review of their
Woohoo!
online presence. And so
Is
at
it
the end of
called
it,
Why Your Online Presence Sucks review?
yeah, yeah, something like that. And you know, just to and it'll involve taking a look at, you know, we'll have a conversation. What are you trying to do? Right? And then
Yeah.
I'll take a look and see if what's online is accomplishing that for you. And I'll provide like overview, sort of a checklist of things that you can do. And most of these things are not onerous. Like many things, even 5 minutes with your LinkedIn profile can make things a lot better. You know, just once you know and then some of them may take more. But the whole thing I'm going to be looking for is your website and your online on your LinkedIn, Facebook, your YouTube channel. Are they all coherent and true to
Yes.
what you're doing now, not what you did 5 years ago, or you're not a babysitter anymore, whatever it is you were doing. So and then with some things that you can do, and then some of the things might be fairly complex, like a lot of like um, more detailed sales funnel,
Mm-hmm.
or an email campaign, or something that might take some work, and we're available to craft that for you, design it and craft it. But in the very least, you'll have a list of things that to do to put on your list. And if you have a virtual assistant, you can get them to help with it, or whatever works for you.
I love that. That is an awesome offer. So you all listening, definitely you want to go to the freebie vault, bit.ly/free from Dr. B, DRB, in other words, and you'll be able to grab that plus thousands and thousands of other gifts from our incredible guests who give us their time. They give us time to see that you succeed. What I've found, Greg, is that most small business owners don't have a lot of time or money for training. And so I really see Bold Badass Business as a way for us all to serve and to share our expertise. Just here in this little bit of time with you, I've already learned a number of things that I'm thinking, better go to my LinkedIn. I'm like, better go look at that. So I hope the rest of you are taking that to heart as well. And of course, you could have your VA attend this. You know what, Greg, I'm thinking about doing this with you, but I want to have my VA there too, so she can
Sure.
take notes and then she can implement what you tell her to do. Because I don't have time to implement it. Those of us in our businesses, we need to remember that we're the CEOs, we're the CVOs, chief visionary officers. We've got to keep our eyes on what we're creating, right? And not always on just the tiny mechanical detail implementation things. It's so
Yeah,
important to have help.
for
So,
sure.
Greg, you have been a delight. It's been great to have you here. And again, everybody, sharedvisions.com is Greg's website. Let me repeat that, sharedvisions.com. And you'll be able to access this incredible Why Your Online Presence Sucks review. He's not calling it that. I'm just being funny. But this review, so that you'll know what to do across your website and your social media presence, some really easy things that you could change to make it better, right? And that's what we've got to do as business owners. Even if we just spend 20 minutes tweaking it, that 20 minutes can make a big difference. I mean, how much is a customer worth to you? Think about it, you all.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
How much is a customer worth to you? Is it worth 20 minutes to get something, a CTA, get a call to action there that is actually going to have somebody reach out to you and create a customer? Or do you want to keep doing your I don't sell sofa business
your
like we
your
talked about?
prevent marketing. Make sure nobody ever calls you.
That's hilarious, right? Yeah, there you go. The
Except
marketing,
that
the
never
marketing.
works for me. If I'm going to tell one more story. I was in a job
Tell us,
interview.
because we got a wrap here in a
Yeah.
couple of minutes.
Anyway, I went for a job interview. This is like in the smokeandmirrors.com era in the late '90s. And I told them in the interview that I didn't think I was the person for them and I didn't want the job. They thought I was being coy. They kept on offering me more money and flexible hours. And it says, fine, I'll do it.
I love that. It's like, that's perfect.
Yeah,
But you were really serious. You're not the
I
right guy.
was serious.
I'm not the
I
right
ended
person.
up firing them eventually, but that was about 6 months later. So,
That's wonderful. Well, yeah, again, the power of reverse psychology. Sometimes in business, it's not just about attracting who we really want to work with, but it's also about repelling the people we
yeah,
don't want to work
yeah,
with and being
it's a
really
good
clear.
balance. A good
Yeah.
balance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Are
the
you
easiest
committed to
way is
doing the work?
Yeah, the easiest way
Are
of
you
doing that is who this is not for, right?
Exactly. This
Yeah,
is for dot, 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 and this is not for. And you can do it in your enrollment conversations. The last
yeah,
person I enrolled in my Make It Happen mastermind, I got really up in her face and I said, look, I'm going to ask you this. Is having this successful six-figure business, is that really something you will do the work to create? Or is it just a nice dream that you want to keep in your head? You
Yeah.
know, I'm going to just be upfront because I don't want to waste your time or money or my time or money. And there's one thing I can't do for you in this program. I can offer you the structures, I can offer you everything that you could possibly need to succeed, but I can't do the work for you.
Yeah.
So you got to know, are you committed or not? And this just the moment of truth, no judgment. Let's just get real. And she did opt in and she hit the ground running. But I have
Awesome.
made the mistake, and this is for everybody listening, because I'm upfront about ways I've effed up, and there are a lot of them. I've made the mistake about letting people in that I had some questions about, right?
Yeah.
Because I saw their potential. You know what I mean, Greg? You see the potential. You see it could be better. You see that web presence could be better, for instance. You see that they could have their multiple six-figure business, and I wanted it more than they did. So everybody
Well, yeah,
listening,
for sure. And
yeah,
sometimes they can pay you your fee, but they're not a good match, right? So,
exactly.
and
And
you
so
know,
it's really important.
yeah. So if you've only got 10 spots, you better just take 10 people who are going to do the work. So,
Or just take less that are going to do the work, right? Because
yeah,
that person who's the weak link, sadly, is going to impact everyone.
yeah,
I
for sure.
learned that the hard way too. You have one weak link, it's going to tear up the chain, and then everything, it's going to make it harder for everybody. So those of you listening, well, get in touch with your business.
Yeah,
There's a moment of choice for you. Are you really committed to having a six-figure, multiple six-figure or more business? Ask yourself that question. Maybe you already have it. In that case, are you committed to scaling that business and having a seven-figure or more business? Ask yourself that question. No judgment. Just ask yourself and really listen to the answer. Because bold, badass business isn't necessarily about the size of your business. It's about having your business be in alignment with who you are and what you want. So, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. Greg, I want to thank you for being an awesome guest. I love your stories, and we've had a lot of fun. And be sure, everybody, to go to the freebie vault and grab Greg's special review of your online presence. bit.ly/free from Dr. B, spelled DRB. This is Bold Badass Business, and I'll see you next week at 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 1:30 p.m. Pacific. In the meantime, be bold, even if you don't
people.
feel that way, and be a badass.